That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your no-fluff guide to artificial intelligence in higher ed. I'm Mallory Willsea, bringing nearly 20 years of edtech and marketing expertise straight to your earbuds. Higher ed leaders are expected to master AI overnight, but let's be real, no one has time to sift through every headline, hot take, or research report. That's why every Monday, I'll break down what actually matters. Fast, clear, and to the point. Want to sound like the smartest person in the room at your next team meeting? You're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Hey folks, so you know those moments at a conference where you just feel the energy shifts, where someone says something so honest and honestly so specific that it really cuts through those buzzwords and the room just kind of stills for a second? That happened during Tom Andriola and Gary Moser's session at the Engage Summit, and honestly, it hasn't left my mind since. Tom is the Vice Chancellor for Information Technology and Data and the Chief Digital Officer at UC Irvine, and Gary is the CTO of the Digital Center at the California Community Colleges. This episode, it's the conversation where that moment started. I sat down with Savanna Mcdede from Element451, someone who is in the thick of it with schools trying to figure out what AI is at scale and what it actually looks like. Not in theory, but in practice. We talk about kind of what's getting in the way, the resistance, the leadership friction, the overwhelm, and the mindset shift that needs to happen if we're going to move from pilots to real transformation. So if you left Engage thinking, okay, this is cool, but how do we actually do this thing? You're going to love this one. Well, Savanna, thanks for joining me on the show. I know you were on the Pulse feed not too long ago talking to me about the Engage Summit, so I appreciate you coming back on and kind of debriefing this session with me.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love being on the network and Engage Summit. I'm glad that my voice is finally back. It was such a fun week for everyone that came to Charlotte. It was really fantastic. I'm already looking forward to next year.
So after Tom's session, which was about how to scale and kind of integrate AI, and also, you working with California community colleges specifically, you came up to me and you were like, listen, I would love to come on the network and talk about this session. What do you feel like in Tom's session that kind of made you go like, yes, this is kind of the piece in scaling AI that schools are missing?
Yeah, it's a tough question because there really is so much to drill down on. And I'm so glad because I was actually standing in the back of their session and they asked for audience participation. So one of the things I thought was really interesting is they asked if user buy-in is a tough part at their institution. And almost every single person raised their hands. And then towards the end, they asked if you feel comfortable voicing ideas and sharing opinions at your institution. And every single person raised their hands. So everyone feels comfortable voicing ideas and bringing things to the table, but getting the buy-in is really tough. And that really is what this entire session was the foundation of is getting to the actual why, the big picture of what we're doing with AI, the big picture of how it's going to help our students. So institutions can really kind of see that big picture and get that buy-in and understand the story so they can really get excited about bringing AI to their institution.
Yeah, that's really good. It's almost like a lot of schools skip that strategy big picture step. And I don't know if that's because things move so fast in AI that it's like, okay, like I see the wind blowing and I see the wind drifting. I've just got to catch it and ride the wave and follow it. He really frames that strategy piece as the center of scaling AI successfully. So from your point of view and working with specifically community colleges, but for higher ed specifically, why do you feel like so many schools skip that step? Is it truly because things just move so fast that there's just no time to have strategy? Do schools feel like that's a waste of time? Do they need to like kind of test things out and then be like, oh, okay, yeah, this does help. We'll actually implement it?
Yeah, I think it comes from pressure and perception, right? A lot of schools feel the urgency to do something with AI, especially when it's moving so fast, and peer institutions are also moving fast with this. So instead of starting with a really strategic framework and asking, why are we using AI? What are the problems it's meant to solve? Departments just buy into buying tools without institutional alignment. And the result is a really patchwork of tools, no cohesive vision, and really not knowing that there is a tool out there that is a one-stop shop, which is Element451, a little plug there. But I really do think it's pressure and perception. And Gary Moser said a quote that I loved. He said, It's a marathon, not a sprint, and higher ed is just jogging. It's hard to keep up with this, but we really need to keep each other accountable and keep up with this marathon that is AI, because it's not going anywhere and it's moving so quick that we've got to keep up somehow.
And I love that quote by Gary because truly it is a marathon. I think so many times that we think, especially when like higher ed is being exposed, not just higher ed, but like everyone is being exposed to this new era of AI. And so we get so many people where they just dive in and then you kind of get almost burnout essentially because you're trying so many different things and you're expanding your resources to trying so many different things to seeing what actually works when if you took a second to actually have the strategy of being like, okay, you kind of have to think of it like this when you talk about your why, like what problem are you trying to solve with AI? And I feel like that's the question that institutions do not start with. They just say, oh, I see this school doing this, or I hear this story of this school doing this, and you kind of just apply that to your own system when it's really like different based on each use case. And I think that's what I love about AI is that it's such a sandbox that it can be morphed into what you need it to be in your institution if you started with that strategy step.
Absolutely. And that storytelling part of it to your institution when you're trying to get buy-in. I forget if it was Tom or Gary that mentioned it, but he said people are so much of how you're speaking to AI, right? The way you speak to AI dictates the answer that you're going to get back. And it works the same way with people. It depends on how you're telling the story and how you're trying to show them the vision of the buy-in that you're going to get from them. So kind of thinking about it in a very metaphorical way, but I thought that was kind of a beautiful way to align the, AI and people into very different ways.
And I mean, you're talking to campus leaders and people in the weeds of higher ed every single day. What's the mindset shift that you wish more of them were making right now?
Yeah, we're in higher ed because we love education. We love being fluent in something, taking that and applying it to AI. Both Gary and Tom both said that their job hasn't been this fun in years because there's just a world of possibilities with AI. And it kind of reframing your mindset of this isn't scary. It actually can be really fun if I become literate in it and if I become fluent in it. It really is a whole new era. And there's so many things that it can support and help, not just for your students, but in your own day-to-day role. So just that little mindset shift of, this actually can be really fun if I dive in headfirst and learn about AI and learn how it can help me in my role and in my life. It's such a powerful tool. Just dive right in.
Absolutely. And for an institution, say you've got, we talked about buy-in and how tough it is to get buy-in. And I think it's important for institutions to have that champion AI point of contact at their institution. If you're that person that's facing kind of, I don't want to say that backlash, but that pressure and that pushback, maybe is the better word, where do you even start? Like from a practical lens, how do you start even kickstarting that process of being like, okay, I see this AI thing. I'm trying to get our institution on board with it. Where do you start from point zero?
Yeah, I think making sure that there's a strategy and everybody is aligned, right? You have to make sure that your institution is aligned again on that big picture of why we're doing this, but also not being scared to bring things to the table. We are the pillar of innovation in higher ed, and we have to keep up with technology that's moving so quick. Our students are keeping up. We have to join in that. So not being scared to bring things to the table. Higher ed has to shift to AI. It's just a matter of when and who's going to get there faster and who is going to, do it better. And I think that the schools that are diving in headfirst and adopting it and applying it, their students are thriving, which has just been a really incredible thing to see. So having a big picture, having a strategy, not being scared of it, using it for fun, diving right in and holding your campus and institution accountable, right? We have to move forward with technology and the trends, and it'll be a really exciting time when everyone does.
And I remember when I first started in higher ed, I was always told something like, well, you go into a meeting and you're like, well, know your seat at the table and know your place at the table. And now we're seeing this evolution of it actually being like, you got to create your own seat at the table in
Yeah.
many of these situations.
Yeah.
There's no like sitting back. Obviously, there's you have to have respect, and that's not a copy and paste advice for every single situation out there. But there's so many times out there where unless like you speak up or your voice is heard, your voice is never going to be out there or listened to by anyone unless you create your seat at that table specifically.
Absolutely. You just said it best. Create your own seat at the table, and people will be excited to hear your ideas, especially if you're literate, fluent in it, know it, excited about it. Your passion for it and your storytelling for it will excite people. So I think, keeping that excitement, being courageous, being brave, bringing these ideas to the table, you're only going to help your institution and you're only going to help your students in the long run. So
Absolutely. And we had 2 awesome days coming from the Engage Summit with so many speakers, and I feel like I learned so much over those 2 days. We know it's so easy to ride the conference and the summit hype afterwards. What is one small move that you think a campus leader could make that would actually create momentum at their institution?
I think really understanding what their students need. It's so funny. I did an AI summit at Cypress a couple of gosh, it's months ago now.
Oh
But
yeah, with Marcy.
yeah,
Yeah.
with Birdsey, we did an AI hackathon with the students, and the tools that their students were using for AI were so incredible. So it was just such a juxtaposition because we were there trying to, excite the institution about using AI and teaching them about AI and the benefits of it. And then the students were using all of these tools for AI to build websites, to build landing pages. So really knowing that, the students are using it, we need to keep up with them, understanding what tools are out there, what tools can help you in your role, and becoming literate in it. It's the best way. And it does takes a few clicks and a few minutes a day to get excited about it. Once you dive in, I promise there's something there for you, and you'll thank yourself in the long run.
That's so crazy. I kind of ask you more about students
Oh my
using
God.
AI to build landing pages and websites because I feel like the main answer that people gravitate to with students using AI are very basic at this point. Like it's like, oh yeah, I don't know, they used it to look up an answer for their homework or something. Like this is the first I've heard of of students using AI for this use case. Are you able to tell me some more information about that?
Erin, I was absolutely mind blown. I mean, we have to really be on we have to be really knowledgeable about AI here at Element. These students were using tools that I had never even heard of before. And the hackathon was really awesome because they gave them a campus issue. One was parking, one was the food that was in the cafeteria, and using AI, how they would solve the problem, what they would do, and how they would help. So one of the students, and they only had about 30 minutes to do all of this, and they were broken up in teams. And one of the teams created an entire website that when you got to campus, it would show you which parking spots were available through this app that students would all have access to and click on if that spot was available. Immediately solving a problem. It was just incredible. They had built a website and everyone was shocked. And that was just kind of one example of the things that they were doing. They were making songs, they were making videos, all through AI. So
That's absolutely incredible. I mean, if you're sitting there, I don't know what campus doesn't have an issue with parking.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. The issues that they were brought to the table during the AI hackathon were the same issues when I was in college 15 years ago. I'm like, wow, the same things, right? So who knows? Maybe in a couple of years, AI will solve all those problems. We'll see.
Absolutely. What I take away from that is, folks, think about your students more as a resource. Like I said, I think to me, before this conversation, we almost limit students of being like, well, Savannah and I are AI literate. We kind of almost say undermine students, but it's kind of like, wow, they have these ideas on how to improve these processes themselves. Like, let's use them as a focus group for these kinds of projects.
Absolutely. And kind of bringing it back to earlier, give them the empowerment to have the voice at the table when they're in our shoes. Right?
Absolutely.
That starts now. That starts when they're in higher ed. That starts when they're, getting their degrees, empowering them, giving them inspiration to be that seat at the table and to push their company, their institution, wherever they go in the long run to push them forward. So
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Savannah, for keeping it real and reminding us that scaling AI isn't always just about chasing tools, but it's also more so about making smart moves with strategy at the center. Thanks for listening to this bonus episode from the Engage Summit. Don't forget to sub to the show or leave a review on your favorite listening platform. It's a quick, free way to support the network. Go lead with clarity and not chaos. Catch you in the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Higher Ed Pulse. The show is a proud member of the Enrollify Network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow, so be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit Enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.